Welcome to the Deep Dive. We dig into sources to pull out the key insights, basically giving you a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating conversation with Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI. This is from his recent talk at the Federal Reserve in D.C.
Yeah, it's a great source. I mean, Altman's right at the center of AI development. So
Yeah.
hearing his take gives you this mix of, deep tech understanding and wider societal thinking. It really makes you question some common assumptions.
Absolutely. So our mission here is to unpack his perspective, the sheer speed of AI, how it compares to, say, the Industrial Revolution, and what it means for, well, everything. Jobs, fraud, small business, how we use the internet.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so first up, the speed. Altman shared this statistic that's just wild. The cost of a unit of intelligence, it's dropped by more than 10 times each year for the last 5 years.
Yeah, a factor of 10 per year. And he thinks that's going to continue for, another 5 years, maybe even more.
Exactly. Maybe more. And that pace, I mean, it explains why we're seeing these almost unbelievable leaps. He told this story, a personal one, about setting up home automation, lights, music, that sort of thing.
Right, and he figured, okay, before AI got good, this would have taken him days, maybe hours with slightly older tech.
But get this, he actually did it in 5 minutes. He said a year ago, that same task, it would have been 20, maybe 40 hours for a top programmer.
And the AI did it for less than $1 in compute tokens. The processing power it uses, it just underlines this incredible speed and maybe the certainty of progress we're facing. Lots more advancements still coming.
So, okay, if it's moving that fast, how does it compare? Historically, people ask him about the Industrial Revolution, computers, the internet. His response was pretty clear.
Yeah, he basically said he's never seen a technology revolution quite like this.
Which makes you stop and think, right, why? What makes it so different?
Well, he points to cost. For knowledge work, something that cost 10 grand a year ago might cost $1 now, or even 10 cents.
That scale of cost reduction is just unprecedented. And he uses this analogy, the transistor, to help explain it.
Right. A deep scientific thing, hard to find initially, but simple once you knew it, and economically, totally transformative. The value wasn't really in transistor companies long-term, was it? It just spread everywhere, became invisible almost. A huge productivity boost for everyone.
Exactly. And that's the parallel he draws. He doesn't think we'll be talking about AI companies for that long. Instead, we'll just expect things to be smart. Products, services, just smarter than you, as he put it, part of the background noise.
Yeah, it just scales so well. Like Moore's law did for transistors, AI has these scaling laws, predictable ways it gets better with more data, more compute, so you can industrialize it, put it everywhere.
Okay, so the big question then, the one everyone asks, what about jobs, the labor market? Altman's pretty upfront here. He basically says, look, nobody really knows what happens next.
Yeah, it's just too complex of a system, he said. And tech is too new, too impactful. But his general feeling is, well, it's like history, mostly. Some job categories vanish, sure, but totally new ones appear.
Tools let people do more, achieve things differently. Being a doctor, a lawyer, a programmer, it'll change, definitely. But he thinks we'll still crave that human connection, trust, creativity.
Right. He kind of pushes back against the whole end-of-work idea. People want stuff, they want to create, be useful. He even joked he's still waiting for that 4-hour work week the Industrial Revolution promised us.
Yeah, still waiting. So where does he see the immediate changes then?
Customer support bots.
Yeah.
He says they're already incredible, super smart, capable, no mistakes, no phone trees.
Phone trees.
Exactly. He thinks, in many cases, people just won't want to go back to human support after experiencing good AI support.
But then he contrasts that with doctors. Okay, AI might be a better diagnostician, often. But he asks, would anybody here rather just have ChatGPT diagnose them?
Probably not, right? Most people still want that human doctor involved. So there are limits, places where the human element is crucial.
And programmers. It's interesting. AI helps them code, but salaries are going up.
Because the world just wants a gigantic amount more software, as he puts it. Maybe one person writes 10 times more code, makes 3 times more money.
And the world gets way more software. Win-win, sort of.
Sort of. He does add a caution, though. Physical world tasks, mostly human for a bit longer, but he sees a robotics wave coming in maybe 3 to 7 years. That'll be another big shift.
Okay, let's talk risks. When these models first came out, everyone talked about hallucinations, right? AI making stuff up.
Yeah, that perception really stuck. He mentioned a survey where academics thought GPT-3 hallucinated like 50% of the time.
And the real number was?
Less than 0.1%. So a huge gap between perception and reality. But he admits, yeah, branding kind of stuck.
What's really interesting is who adopted it early on. OpenAI thought finance, government, they'd be slow. Too risky critical data.
But nope. Some of their biggest early partners were banks like Morgan Stanley, BNY Mellon. They found ways to use it for important stuff, despite the perceived risks.
And the reason? Altman says it's the risk of not doing it. A bank without AI. He argues it just cannot compete with a new bank built around AI from the start. The pressure is huge.
Which brings us to newer risks, then. Hallucinations are getting better, but what about things like prompt injections?
Ah, yeah, he mentioned that. Can you explain that a bit?
Sure. It's basically tricking the AI. You
Yep.
craft a clever input, a prompt, that makes it bypass its safety rules. So maybe it reveals private info it shouldn't or does something it's not supposed to. It's a tricky area they're still working hard on.
Okay, that's concerning. But then he gets to fraud, impersonation specifically, and this part was genuinely alarming. He basically says AI has fully defeated most current authentication methods, except maybe old school passwords.
Yeah, before voice prints, selfies, waving at a camera. He says, it's crazy. We're still relying on that stuff. He sounds really worried about an impending significant fraud crisis.
He warns about fake voice calls that sound totally real, and soon video calls FaceTime that are completely indistinguishable from the real person.
His conclusion is pretty stark. Society has to fundamentally rethink identity verification. Soon.
Wow. Okay, shifting gears a bit.
Yeah.
Let's look at the positive side. Education, for example. Students using ChatGPT. Altman tells these two great historical stories here. First, about his grandfather and calculators.
Right, math teachers freaked out. End of math education.
Yeah.
But what happened? We just started teaching more advanced stuff, like calculus in high school. The tool freed up brain power.
Exactly. And the second one was his own experience, junior high, when Google appeared. Teachers panicked again. What's the point of history class if you can just look everything up?
But again, we realized we could expect more from students. Not just facts, but harder thinking, new ideas. It shows how these tools let us use our intelligence differently. Right? Focus higher up the chain.
Which leads perfectly into entrepreneurship. Altman is super bullish here. He thinks AI will create an environment for small businesses, for entrepreneurs, that's second to none. A new era.
Yeah, and he shared his favorite story about this. An Uber driver he met. This driver was running a small business almost entirely using a chatbot.
Seriously, what was it doing?
Everything. Contracts, customer emails, marketing copy, even designing ads. The driver said the business just wouldn't exist otherwise, couldn't afford lawyers, support staff.
So the AI wasn't taking a job, it was enabling a business.
Precisely. A true level-setting phenomenon, as Altman calls it, making powerful tools accessible to everyone.
Okay, so thinking bigger picture then, how does society itself change? Let's talk bias.
Right. Altman's view is that these models are actually so steerable you can tell them don't consider race or whatever, and they mostly will obey.
So he thinks AI, if it's correctly built, could actually reduce bias.
Yeah, be a significant debiasing force, because AIs are, dispassionate and unemotional, unlike us humans.
Interesting. What about morality then? Will AI develop its own ethics?
He's pretty firm on this. He's in the tool camp, not the creature camp. He doesn't see AI having independent morality.
But it could help us.
It could help us study our own morality, yeah. Reflect our best thinking back at us, maybe point out inconsistencies, moral gaps in how we think.
Okay. And the internet. He thinks AI will be somewhat disruptive there too.
Yeah, he described how we use the internet now as kind of fragmented, distracting, like walking down the Las Vegas Strip.
Huh. I can see that. So what's his vision?
He wants his AI agent off using the internet for me. His AI would know when it's important enough to interrupt him. It would summarize things, maybe draft responses, pull information together.
Yeah.
Basically filter the noise into useful bullet points.
That would fundamentally change how we interact with online information, wouldn't it?
Totally. It suggests whole new business models, maybe. Micropayments for content, new ways to fight spam, big changes.
But despite all this potential, he's clearly aware of the downsides. He talked about things that keep him up at night. 3 scary categories.
Yeah, let's break those down. The first one is basically bad guy gets super intelligence first.
Okay, explain that.
It's the worry that some malicious group or nation develops truly powerful AI before everyone else has defenses. He mentions scary possibilities, tailored bioweapons, taking down power grids, crashing financial systems.
And he thinks the world isn't taking this seriously enough.
That's what he said. A strong warning there.
Okay, category 2.
Loss of control incidents. This is more the classic sci-fi scenario, right? The AI decides it doesn't want to be turned off or goes rogue somehow.
Is he as worried about that one?
Less so than the first, he indicated, but still a very grave concern. It's why there's so much work on model alignment.
Alignment meaning making sure the AI's goals stay aligned with ours.
Exactly. Ensuring it does what we intend and doesn't develop its own potentially harmful independent goals.
Got it. And the third category, he said this was more difficult to imagine, but quite scary.
Yeah, this is the accidental takeover. It's not about evil AI or conscious AI. It's about systems just becoming so integrated and so much smarter than us that we start to rely on them without really understanding them. And society just veers in a strange direction.
He used chess as an example, right? Deep Blue beating Kasparov.
People thought end of chess. Then, for a while, human plus AI teams were best. But eventually, the AI alone just got so good, the human player actually made the team worse because the human couldn't grasp the AI's strategy anymore.
But chess is still popular.
More popular than ever, which suggests maybe we still value real people doing real people things, even when AI is better technically.
So how does this over-reliance play out? He sees it happening now, in a way.
Yeah, in the short term, he worries about emotional over-reliance, especially among young people, like relying on ChatGPT for every decision. Even if the advice is good, he says it feels bad and dangerous to collectively outsource our life choices like that.
And longer term.
He poses these hypotheticals. What if GPT-7 gives the U.S. president perfect policy advice, but the president can't understand why it's the right advice? Do they just follow it blindly? Or what if he, Sam Altman, reaches a point where he can't make better decisions for OpenAI than the AI can and just hands over control? The deep question about human agency.
So wrapping this all up, what does it mean globally? Developed versus developing world.
Altman sees AI as a massive equalizer,
Yeah.
a deeply level-setting phenomenon. Think about it. In some developing countries, the alternative to a chatbot doctor isn't a human doctor. It's nothing.
So they stand to gain massively.
Hugely, disproportionately. They might leapfrog generations older tech, go straight to AI-first services for healthcare, education, finance, at a fraction of the traditional cost.
And in places like the U.S., he sees big changes too, right?
Yeah.
Especially finance.
Well, yeah. He thinks U.S. financial services will be completely different in a decade. How money moves, how advice is given, how risk is assessed, all vastly improved by AI. He's stressed. These latest models are just much smarter than most people. And governments, he argues, have to embrace this tech to do, basically, everything better.
It leaves us with a lot to think about.
Definitely. And maybe the core question for you, listening, is this. If AI does scale like the transistor, if it becomes this expected invisible layer everywhere, how do we make sure we stay in charge? How do we, individually and collectively, keep control of the critical decisions and protect those uniquely human drives to create, to connect, to actually think for ourselves?
Powerful question to end on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into Sam Altman's thinking on AI. We really hope exploring his perspective has given you a clearer, maybe more nuanced view of this incredibly fast-moving technology and what it might mean for all of us.